Hello, viewers. We are again on GuruCool podcast. Me and Farrell are joining you today, and the topic for today is the relationship. What is your quote today, Farrell?
What is up, everyone? What's up, Dr. Gupta? I'm glad to be here on this fine day, and I'm glad that we're talking about relationships. And I might add a little bullet point in there as friendships. I think relationships and friendships are really important because it's those bonds that we forge that help keep us in our humanity. And, especially with everything going on right now, I think there's an added value to that if there hasn't already been, because we don't get to have those relationships or see those people as much as we used to. And it's one of those things where we take that for granted. And I think it's important to know that, exemplify the symbolism of how important these relationships and friendships are and how they can really make or break someone, whether life is failing you in the flash of a light, but these relationships, they don't. That's what keeps us in that light and in that presence.
Very well said. And I am actually working on a book also called Three S's in a Successful Relationship. So, Farrell, what I believe that there's no perfect relationship, right? The perfection actually is in your perception. Any relationship you can call it perfect, or any relationship you may not call it perfect, even if it is pretty good. So, the three S's that I will talk about today is one is the say no negative. And why I say no negative, because I think negativity or the criticism actually pushes you away from that person. And when you have that negativity and criticism, people don't want to be around you. And and sometimes people say, oh, it's a like a constructive criticism is good. I really call it constructive criticism is BS. Nobody takes it in a nice way, and it definitely, even if that person doesn't react to you in front of you, but later or somehow in the back of their mind, they are thinking about that criticism. So try to avoid as much criticism you can avoid. What do you think about that?
I think that's important. And I think something that really hit me and resonated with me that I got from what you were saying is one of the biggest things I noticed, and I take this as the under the umbrella of criticism, is when you're listening to someone. So a lot of people, whether they're argumentative or they just want to throw their 2 cents in, sometimes you see people so quick to ready to jump in. One of the biggest things I like always listen to someone. Take a second, that's what they're saying and where they're coming from. Because if you're talking, you're not listening. So sometimes
You're breaking up, Farrell.
okay, how about now?
Yeah, better.
So if you're talking, you're not listening. So instead of talking, just listen more. So listen with your ears, not your mouth. And so don't be so quick to jump in and actually ready to respond or give your 2 cents. Just take a moment to really process and digest what they're saying. And I think listening more than talking is more important, and it adds to that umbrella of criticism.
Okay, you actually jumped into my second S. So first is say no negative, that was criticism, and you already jumped into second S, which is smile and listen. So smiling and listen, because smiling is such a positive aspect of a personality that actually pulls you towards that person. And listening, as you just said, listening is an amazing quality which most of us are lacking, the ability to listen. So that is the second S, which is very, very effective way to develop a good relationship. And you said that. Now the third S I'm going to jump into is say first was say no negative, then smile and listen. Third is say positive. So say positive means praising and appreciating that person, and I have read a book, and I would highly recommend Dale Carnegie book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. amazing book, and it's literally a Bible of relationship. So what he says, that we, as a human being, we need two things to survive. One is a sex. Second thing is the feeling of being appreciated. That's how important feeling of being appreciated is. If you really look in any break, whether it's a marriage break, so in the case of divorce, the one person would always say later, oh, that person did not appreciate me. If somebody is leaving a job, most of the time they say, I didn't really care about how much money he was giving or she was giving, but he or she did not appreciate me. So it's appreciation is so important that that can bind or create a good relationship.
No, it's really important. I do agree with that. It's very important to have those bonds and really just always have positive. And with the positivity, you need to have that, because sometimes right now, especially, I'm going to go back to with everything going on, it's that you can't lose that hope or that little inkling of, hey, everything's going to be all right. And that all is a byproduct of positivity. And one thing I'll give you an example of, reading for work a book called Principles by Ray Dalio, and it ties a lot into the book you referenced. And why that's important is because he talks about the author of the book, Ray Dalio, running a company. And, he talks about having an employee who makes a mistake. And he said most people would just be ready to fire that person, but that doesn't help them learn anything. And so instead, he keeps a logbook of everything that they do wrong for each employee, so that they have a running log of what things have happened and how they can work through them. And it's a learning experience. So instead of jumping down one path of let's just fire this person and be done, let's actually work on what needs to be fixed. And why I'm bringing that up is because that ties into the positivity and everything we're talking about. Don't be so quick to give up or make a judgment.
Right. And I also feel like, the criticism creates enemies, and appreciation creates friends. And in this world, what we need, we may not need too many friends, but the least enemies we have, that's easier, living for us. So try to minimize the criticism as much as you can, and try to maximize the appreciation part as much as you can. And if you don't want to do any of those, just smile and listen. That alone can bring a powerful impact on a relationship. That's what I think.
And it's important to remember that it's for the greater good, and it's not always about yourself. It's about each other and the people that you care about. And I'll throw another quote out there I wrote in one of the articles. Really ties to this. It was said by Leonard Nimoy in Star Trek, Spock, and he said the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one. And basically put that in the context, the needs of everybody around us and being unified with people is more important than one individual goal or one individual person. Ideas are bigger than that. And I think it's important that if you think of yourself with each other and as a piece of a bigger puzzle, and not just you are the puzzle, it helps really put all of that into perspective.
I can tell how crazy you are about Star Trek.
It's very inspirational, I like to, whether it's Star Trek or movies, I like to really pick out what's really there and look for the hidden meanings behind things.
Absolutely. So what do you think about, they always say that the match made in heaven. What do you think about that?
So I think on one angle it's very subjective, because it makes sense, but I don't think it's something you can really understand or digest until you experience it. So until you really fall in love or meet someone that really falls into that category, it's really hard to quantify or explain in theory what that really is. It's more along the lines of seeing is believing. So experience is believing in this case.
Right. And I think I believe that you can make any relationship be very good or amazing or successful relationship, but obviously we all have our personality traits, and personality traits are filled with our own reflexes, how we react to certain things. And I think that's what creates sometimes the problems among relationships. But one thing I have seen, the most important part in our life is being patient. Being patient is so important and so good that it can change the outcome of any problem. you know Sometimes if you're angry, if you're not patient, you say something that you have to pay for it for a long, long time. But if you could just be patient, even if you don't say anything, or just be patient and say very, very little word, I think that can help you a lot in a relationship. And as I said in the beginning, there's no perfect relationship. And we have seen there people who get married always. I mean, they're not, two enemies will never get married, right? So when they got married, everybody had a good relationship. Then why 75% of the relationship got bad and led into divorce? So that means it started good. We had good relationship filled with love and affection and everything. Then why it died down? Because it changed. How we were perceiving the other person, how were we reacting to the other person. And most of the thing happened because of the criticism and not having patience. And I think that's what it leads to problem life. But I think personally, I feel like any relationship with anyone can be an amazing relationship. What do you think?
I think you hit it right on the head. And I think what really ties into what you just said and what you said earlier about listening and speaking less. A big expression, less is more. And I've learned that now too, as I'm coping with my own personal struggles or my relationships, to put it into context. And so less is more, and to throw another P in there that goes with being patient, being present. Because if you're not present in the moment and you're dwelling in the past or looking to the future, whether it's in these areas of life or in any area of life, you need to be present here and now in the moment.
Yes. And I'm going to quote here Gautam Buddha. Gautam Buddha was he was the son of a king from Nepal, who actually grew to be a very spiritual personality. And three rules or three sayings in his teachings were: one, Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. That means Buddha means awareness. So you have to be aware of you and your surrounding, and that can bring a lot of peace and affection or understanding about the world around you and about yourself. Second, Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami. That means Dhamma means is a dharam, is a righteousness, the right thing. You should do the right thing. And the third thing is, you're gonna live in this world where other people are there too. So Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. That means you gotta live in this world with other people. So do no harm and live and let live. So all these three things are very important, and one of the most important thing, which is important aspect of the meditation also, being aware of you and your surrounding. So Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. That's what I believe.
I think that's a good way to kind of conclude a little bit on this podcast episode. And I think just to add to that, I would say everything is bigger than it seems, and it's definitely bigger than one person or one concept. It's a whole ecosystem or a whole macrocosm of a society and beliefs and people. And I think that's the best way to really help add to these thoughts.
Absolutely. And never take this life seriously, and seriously never ever take your life. So thank you very much for joining us. Next time, I think we may have Dr. Joan Feinstein, who is a psychologist, who is also an attorney, who will possibly will be able to join us, and we'll talk about mindfulness and how to take care of yourself with your emotions, and we will learn more from her. But thank you so much. Thanks, Farrell, for joining me on this podcast. It's always amazing to have you on board, and I hope everybody enjoyed, and we'll bring you new topic next time. Thank you so much.
Good. Thank you, Dr. Gupta. And for all those watching, as always, I hope you learned at least one thing from this and we can help at least one person. So thank you, guys. Be well, stay positive, and keep going.
Go GuruCool.